Do you want to be able to sew your quilt blocks faster and more efficiently? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can do that with a technique called chain piecing. Chain piecing is one of those techniques as a beginner that I would really encourage you to learn. It's quick, it's easy, and it makes your sewing much more enjoyable. You can get much more done in the time that you've got, which, let's face it, can often be very small amounts of time through the day, and we want to maximise that time to get as much done as we can with the best results that we can achieve. Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's Tamsin here at Beginners Quilting Hub. Welcome to my channel if this is the first video that you've seen, and welcome back if you've been here before. I make videos all about quilting and sewing for beginners. So we are looking for tips, tricks, techniques, tutorials, all for you as a beginner to learn how to do it. I would love you to hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you think of the video. If there's any topics that you as a beginner, or if there's any topics that you would love me to cover on this channel, just drop me a comment or drop me a message and I will do my best to accommodate you. So let's get going, shall we? And I will show you exactly what chain piecing is and prove to you that you need to give it a try. For this video, I thought we could dive in and use some of my Lorry Holt squares that I've cut out already, just so that I've got something to hand to show you how to do chain piecing. So the first thing you're going to do is you're just going to choose 2 units of fabric or 2 pieces of fabric, put them right size together and sew them like you normally would. If you do a back stitch, do that and proceed to sew using an accurate, consistent seam allowance of 1/4 inch. Now, we're not going to stop and we're not going to cut the thread. All we're going to do is we're going to line up another 2 pieces of fabric, place them right size together and do a couple of extra stitches in between from the first piece to the second piece, and then pop the next piece under and start to sew again. And this is starting to form our chain. The crucial thing here is that you're going to leave your sewing foot down. You want it in the down position because you're just going to continue to sew. You're going to sew those extra couple of stitches in between the first unit that you've sewn and the second unit, and then you're going to continue to sew. Your needle can be in either the up or the down position. It doesn't really matter, but the crucial thing is do not cut your thread like you would normally do when you're sewing. Now here comes the fun bit. When you finish sewing all the pieces that you want to sew, you can then cut your thread and pull your chain forward and see the masterpiece that you've created. So what I've now got is a chain of these units that I've just sewn together. And I wasn't stopping in between. As you can see, I've got a small amount of thread in between each one. And all I'm going to do now is take a small pair of snips and I'm just going to cut these apart. And there we go. That's 4 little units all sewn in a chain. Now, there's absolutely no limit to how long you can sew your chain, and you can go wild. Sew as many as you want. And then at the end of it, you're just going to snip them all apart and you've got all of your little pieces ready to go and press. So there's definitely a couple of things that I think you could do that will really help with this technique. The first thing is lay all your pieces out. So lay them out so that the side that you are sewing, or the side that you need to sew, is always going to be on the same way. So for instance, with these squares here, before they were sewn, I would lay them all this way round on my table so that I know the same side every time is this side, and as I pick them up, they're always going to be on that side that I'm sewing through. That will just help save any confusion and will make it a lot quicker. Now, chain piecing is a great method for batch sewing. As you can see, it's really good if you've got the same 2 units of fabric that you need to sew over and over again, then it's amazing, especially if you're doing a large quilt and you've got the same blocks repeating throughout. If you get yourself organised and you lay all your fabric out ready with all the sides that you need to sew in the same position so that you can literally just pick them up and sew them, you can get so much done and you can almost batch sew your quilt. It's definitely worth labelling things if you think you need to. So if you've got a more complicated block and you're going to be chain piecing, then you can label the units and that way you always know which units are which. It's always worth starting with a fully loaded bobbin. There is nothing worse than getting halfway along and realising that you've run out of bobbin thread halfway through, because if your machine's anything like my machine, quite often doesn't tell me and I will be carrying along, sewing along, not really taking much notice. You know, when you repeat the same thing over and over again, sometimes your brain wanders, you'll be planning what you're having for dinner, or you might have Netflix on in the background, and suddenly you'll look down or you'll go to pull your chain out of the sewing machine and you'll realise that actually the thread ran out quite some time ago and you've got to repeat. So always check you've got a fully loaded bobbin before you get started. So there you go. What did you think? Have you tried chain piecing before, or is this something that is brand new to you? Chain piecing was not something I discovered when I first learnt how to make a quilt, and actually it was a few years into sewing that I discovered it, and I can't imagine why anyone would not want to chain piece now that I have been doing it for quite a while. It's definitely my go-to method. I use it every time I sew, unless I'm doing something that's incredibly intricate and requires lots of different pieces, in which case sometimes chain piecing isn't the best option. Where I'm sewing simple units together or repeating units, I will very often just chain piece them all. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, learning all about what chain piecing is, how to do it, and the benefits that you will get from learning this technique. Please give it a go and let me know in the comments what you think, and equally let me know in the comments if you've got any questions about this technique, and I'll do my best to answer them. If you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more from the Beginners Quilting Hub, be sure to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any future videos. If you aren't in there already, I will pop a link in the description box below so that you can come along and join our free Facebook group. It's an amazing community of beginner quilters, or starting their journey and learning and sharing ideas together. So if that's something that might interest you, tap on the link and come and join us over in Facebook. We'd love to have you. But for now, I'll say goodbye and happy quilting.